Does apparent sexual persuasion have in raising a child?
Well, this morning on AM, we're going to examine this issue. We're going to meet a lesbian mother and two gay men who share joint custody of a 4-year-old daughter.
We're also going to meet a real live Magnum PI when Anthony Pelicano, one of America's foremost private investigators, talks about his 99% success rate in solving some 4,000 missing person cases.
He's also going to discuss his involvement in the Kathy Smith-John Belushi investigation and the John DeLorean case as well.
And it's all coming up next on AM San Francisco.
Hi, want to try the steak sauce?
From the Channel 7 studios, this is the Emmy Award-winning AM San Francisco. Now, here are your hosts, Terry Lowry and Bert Lacquement.
Good morning. Welcome to AM San Francisco. Have you ever really met a real private eye? Anybody ever met one or hired one before? You probably have. We've heard a lot about them. We've watched Magnum PI, of course, a lot of television shows over the years. But there is such a thing as a real PI, a private investigator. In fact, we have one of the best in the United States with us this morning. This guy finds missing people in a way that you won't believe. Only 3 people out of 4,000 that he's failed to find. So this guy knows what he's talking about. He's also going to give us some of the truths behind the Kennedy assassination, the John DeLorean case, why he didn't go to jail, and also the John Belushi case that we're in the middle of right now. Anthony Pelicano is going to be with us later on. Fascinating man. First of all, though, Terry, 2 special guests.
Right. Well, our first guest has an unusual story, to say the least. She is a lesbian. She's a mother. She chose to be. She also chose to have 2 gay men be the, well, co-fathers to her child. And she has written a book. It's called Gay Parenting, a complete guide for gay men and lesbians with children. Won't you please welcome Joy Schulenburg and her daughter, Veronica. Hi. Hi, Veronica. How you doing?
Hi.
Fine. Oh, good. Mom, why did you want to have a child?
Oh, why does anyone want to have a child, really? I think because you think you've got the qualities that make you a good parent, because you spend time with other people's children and enjoy them, and because maybe you have a hunch you're going to get something like this.
Oh, boy. You're very successful. She sure is pretty. Oh, she sees herself on TV. All right. But what about being a lesbian? How did that affect your decision to have a child?
Well, I never thought I would be able to have one. I couldn't see being a single parent. I know people who are single parents, and that is just tough. It really is, and I wasn't sure I was up for that. And I couldn't see getting involved in a regular heterosexual marriage, which would be deceitful to me, in order to do that. So I assumed I wouldn't. And when the opportunity came, it was a real delight.
All right, but you chose, I mean, you could have chosen a gay man to have, to impregnate you and have his child. But you chose 2 men. Now, this is a little, as the psychologist backstage put it, creative.
Well, that's kind of how we thought about it, too.
Now, why? Why did you do this? What was the situation that led to it?
Well, we were very close friends for a number of years. In fact, I went to high school with Jeff and have known Bert since just shortly after that. And we were sharing a flat for economic reasons and because we were spending so much time together as friends. So it was just logical when we all sat down and just realized we wanted children. It was one of those late-night conversations that you have with people, and we all realized we wanted kids.
And so the possibility of getting another woman in addition never entered into the
No,
picture.
We were very comfortable. I don't think it would have worked so neatly if we pulled somebody else in. This evolved very naturally.
Okay. This is kind of a delicate question to ask, but what were the logistics? I mean,
did we inseminate or
what did you do exactly?
No, we kind of did it the old-fashioned way, but
Oh,
again,
you did?
I said that's because we were comfortable enough because of our long friendships. I know a lot of people that would not have been comfortable for.
I'll ask you a question later, so you can talk later. Okay. Who is the biological father?
We don't know, and that's exactly how we wanted it.
Why is that?
Because we discussed it, and we know that regardless of your good intentions, there can be a charge on being the biological father, that, I'm the one who did it. And we didn't want that. We wanted both the guys to bond equally. So we said that if she demands to know when she's older, or if there's a medical reason we are willing to go for blood tests. We don't have anything against knowing. We just don't feel it's necessary at this point.
Now, you're married to one of them. Which one?
We basically, that's a technicality too.
All
And
right.
as far as we're concerned, the three of us are a family unit with Veronica.
Okay, so you married the one basically for legal reasons. I
Right,
guess, then,
legal reasons. And it just seemed more convenient with insurance and legality.
Okay, what about the birth certificate? Who's the father there?
Okay, well, the one who's not, that I'm not married to, we had her at home, so we were able to participate in filling out that birth certificate. And what we did was put one down as mother's husband and the other down as biological father, so they're both on the birth certificate.
Now, what does that all mean legally? I mean, what would a court say? I feel sorry for the judge.
I don't know. Exactly. I know. It would probably be, Federal Header Act number 23. Yeah. Hopefully we'll never have to test it because we do have agreements in terms of what would happen if, for example, one of us got transferred to the East Coast or something that came up, and we had to
She wants
split
to
up.
put her 2 cents in.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Yeah. Now, I understand you have 2 fathers.
Veronica.
Who are your fathers, Veronica? Who are your fathers?
Daddy and Bert.
Daddy and Bert, and you call one Daddy and one is called Papa, right? Is that it? Okay. What about your friends at school? How many fathers do they have? Do they have a daddy and a papa, or just a daddy?
A daddy and a papa.
Ah,
They
now,
do?
see, that's
different from what
interesting,
she told me last week, sweetie.
What did she say last week?
Well, she told me that she knew that most kids only had one, and I asked her what happened to all the papas, and she said, I guess they must die a lot.
Well, now, don't you worry about what she's going to think? I mean, right now, somewhere along the line, she's going to get real confused, isn't she?
You're nodding. I think you're more confused by seeing yourself on TV than anything. I think kids are adaptable. I've talked to kids who have all kinds of situations, single parents or foster homes, and I think that if you're real clear with the kids and that you give them a lot of love, they're adaptable. Kids are real flexible, and she thinks the kids who have one parent probably come from a broken home, actually.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to try and get an opinion from a clinical psychologist and see what he thinks the impact might be on her. We're also going to meet the 2 dads, okay? That's coming up next. Welcome back to AM San Francisco. We're talking to Joy Schulenburg and her daughter Veronica. Joining us now are the 2 fathers, Bert Lacquement and Geoffrey Worcester. And also joining us is a clinical psychologist who counsels gays, lesbians, and bisexuals and their children, Alan Rockway. Thanks all for joining us. Why did you 2 want to be fathers?
Love children. I've always wanted to be a father. Really? Never had any doubt about it. I just never thought I was going to do it.
Did you surprise yourself?
Yes, very much.
The same reason. Jeff and I one day went walking in Golden Gate Park, and on the playground there was this man with a little baby, like a 6-month-old baby, and he was holding her, and there's a little girl swinging on her swing, and looked real neat. And that's when I knew I wanted to have kids, and I raised kids with a single mother. I lived with her for a while, and she had a 9-month-old boy. And so I was about 6 months with Devin, and I knew that I wanted to have kids, but how do you have kids when you're gay?
Well, obviously.
Well, now you can. Now it's possible.
Yeah, it's very possible. Now, you all put quite a bit of thought into doing this. In fact, as I understand it, that's how the book that you wrote came about, is doing all your own research.
It was necessary. There wasn't a lot at the time. There were some really great pamphlets and things like that, but no concise resource for men and women.
Okay. Now, the 2 fathers, how has it turned out for you? You never expected that you would have a child. Now you do. Regrets? Happy?
Oh, no
problems?
regrets at all. I'm happier than
Really?
I ever thought I could be. I think I'm happier having 3 parents than I ever could have been with just one other person.
Yeah? What about you, Bert?
Co-parenting.
Yeah, that's a pretty much ditto.
Okay. Now, it can't be all sweetness and light. I mean, there had to be some problems somewhere along the line, huh?
Well, the hard part was when she was first pregnant, and as most women know, they have the hormonals, and that's the thing that I had no idea about.
You know what that means?
Were the mood fluctuations.
Oh, okay.
Pass the salt. What do you mean the salt? I put pepper on it, That sort of thing. That was.
Okay, so what you're talking about is what you expect most fathers to go through with the mothers to be. Is that what you're talking
Well,
about?
that was the hard part, was
Okay.
the pregnancy part. I had no idea what that would
All
be
right.
like.
Now let me get a little scenario going here, because I know that when you have a child, it's a great deal of responsibility for both parents. Now you've got 3 people dealing with this responsibility. Is it easier or harder to have 3 people?
I think it's easier in some ways and harder in others, which is it's easier in the sense that you don't feel as trapped by the responsibility into having to be there all the time. We have somebody else. If I want to go out, for example, if I have something to do, I have someone to spell me. On the other hand, kids try and play 2 parents off one against the other, and we've had to be real clear about whose responsibility goes on what night, for example, who's the primary parent, in order to keep her from carrying that to an extreme.
Okay. Alan, you're the one that I quoted earlier as calling this whole situation creative. What is your gut reaction to the family situation we have here with Veronica?
Well, it certainly seems to work, for one thing, and I think that's very positive. There seems to be a lot of love between everybody involved. I had that feeling off stage before. One thing that strikes me about this relationship, as well as other lesbian mothers and gay fathers, is how much deliberation goes into it. It's not an accidental choice. There's a lot of talking and a lot of planning and so on, and sharing with the family. And also, it seems to take us back to the old American tradition that we've lost of the extended family, which many of us in the old days were used to growing up in. Uncles, cousins, grandparents in the house.
All right. Now, but let me bring up the point that there are probably people sitting at home thinking, first of all, I'm not too thrilled about the fact that a gay man and a lesbian would have a child, number one. And number two, you throw in another man in the whole situation. There are probably people at home, maybe even in this audience, thinking the whole thing's disgusting and maybe harmful to the child.
I did a lot of study on that. That's one of the big things I started exploring. And what I found is that it's the quality of the parenting, not anything to do with that parent's sexual orientation, their color, their habits. It's the quality of love and nurturing you provide for that child that really counts for all kids.
And I think that research will bear that out, that there certainly are no more problems among the children of lesbian and gay parents than there are in any family. The important thing is that modeling a positive, loving relationship so the child's able to grow up. And of course, research also shows that children of lesbian mothers and gay fathers have no more likelihood of being lesbian or gay than any other family. So.
What about explaining to Veronica gayness and being lesbian somewhere along the line? And what about explaining who her biological father really is? You have a nice little arrangement between the 3 of you, but what about her? What if she wants to know?
If she wants to know, we'll take a blood test. Until then, it doesn't seem to bother her who her papa is or who her daddy is.
Yeah, but she's young right now.
Right. When she's like 12, 13, peer pressure, perhaps then.
What about peer pressure? What is she facing down the line when other kids begin to understand what's going on?
Well, one pattern we see sometimes is that kids don't have as many problems in the preschool age and up until early adolescence. Then, because of peer pressure and because of the changes that the children go through, biological and sexual emergence, there get to be more conflict. But I don't know any kid who is going through pre-adolescence without conflict. So I think it's important to be direct and honest with the kids and answer their questions.
Don't you worry about putting her in a very special situation when she's older and having more maybe negative rocks to deal with?
Look at it this way. The 2-parent family is not exactly the norm in America today anymore. And there are so many different versions of what family is that she's simply involved in one more, and I think she'll see it that way.
Very quickly, speaking of family, what does your families think of all this?
My folks were just out here for Christmas, and they love it. We were at my brother's house for dinner, and he's gay also. So, and my dad was saying he's an Archie Bunker type, and he was saying how he was real proud that he now had four sons. And I was like, 4 sons? Who's he talking? And he was including Jeff and my brother-in-law. And so it was like he had accepted the whole thing.
What about the child?
What do you mean?
Has he accepted the child?
Oh, definitely, of course. He wishes he could be out here so he could do all those things that grandparents do, but he's back in the Midwest.
So you had 3 sets of parents who were expecting not to become grandparents and have.
The child made all the difference in the world for a lot of the families. It took away all my family's fears of, oh, you're gay, that means you can't feel family. You're going to miss that for your whole life. Okay. And when my parents found out that I was going to have a child, it took away all their hesitations over my lifestyle, and they said, now you have it all.
She's having a ball down here. We'll be back with more in a minute.
To join the AM audience, call 954-7-TIX for your free tickets.
Joy, my question is, and I hope it's not embarrassing, it's embarrassing to me. Do you have a girlfriend or a lover?
Not at present. That's one area in my life that's missing. It is a bit of a dilemma, but, you know, I'm open to it.
How would a lover fit into your trio here, though?
Probably with difficulty. We had a potential situation like that not long ago, and it didn't work for a number of reasons. And I think it would have to be a really special person, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of extra time in my life, so it would have to be a real special person to understand that anyway.
I'd just like to make the comment, as many abused and runaway children there are now, good for you. You know, there's a lot of love there for her. Good for you. I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, though, I'll tell you that.
Interesting. I've got to bring up something that happened in the first segment, and I don't know if you two gentlemen saw this, but I asked Veronica who her father was, and she said, Daddy and Bert. Now, I had been led to believe that she's got a daddy and a papa. How did you feel when she called you Bert?
I said,
Bert?
girl, what are you doing this Bert thing? She's been doing that lately, though. She's been calling us Joy,
All right.
Jeff, Bert, and I go, wait a minute.
Any jealousy here?
No, just that she has to say, my name is not Bert, I am Papa. My name's Bert, but I'm your Papa, you know, but I don't have any jealousy.
But, you know, they're quite often, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's sometimes even jealousy between mother and father in a heterosexual relationship. What happens jealousy-wise with you three?
We have different ways that we relate to Veronica. He's a real creative force. Jeff is more logical, and I think I'm a lot more... I'm the kind of traditional nurturing. I ended up finding myself being a fairly traditional mother in a lot of ways. So we all relate to her differently, and we don't really compete on that level.
And one advantage of this kind of arrangement might be that the third person can mediate between the other two,
Exactly.
rather than having the child caught in the middle of a two-person relationship.
That's what happens.
Who disciplines?
We all
We all do. He does more. She wraps me like 3 or 4 times around the finger.
Because, again, in a heterosexual mother-father relationship, parenting relationship, sometimes there's a problem there. One person says one thing and the other person says another.
Bert being the primary parent for the first 2 years, he stayed home and was the primary parent. I kind of turned out to be the father role in that, the traditional father
You
role,
went to
and the
work
one
and
that
came
goes
home at
to
night?
work
Yeah.
always, even though Joy's gone to work sometimes and not other times. So the discipline comes to me a lot of times, and she'll listen to me more that way.
I just want to make a comment about what Joy was saying, is that many children now are coming from different kinds of backgrounds, and where you have your typical divorce situation where one of the parents remarries and then has 2 fathers. It's different in this situation where the child has 2 fathers, but they're there, which is very important, that they do have, you know, the man to look up to. Many children don't have that father figure, and I think that that's nice.
Veronica thinks that most kids come from broken homes because they only have daddies. They don't have papas. Like, she came to me the other day and she said, Papa, are you going to die? Because she figures that's what happened to all the other papas, because none of the other kids that she knows at school has a papa.
How do you split up the housework? Who does the dishes and who does the...
We've got a schedule. We have certain chores. It worked out really good, too, with 3 people, because the things one person hates, the other person often doesn't mind. So we split it up pretty evenly, and we split up child care responsibilities in the evening pretty evenly, and we're flexible, but she knows who she goes to.
I have a comment. I think the fact that more and more lesbians and gay men are starting to have children now, and the incredible willingness to have children, that it is really something that they think about ahead of time, and a lot of thought goes into it, and I think that's really important in laying that groundwork and that fertile ground for a child to have the love that they need.
Thank you. I've got to ask you, this has all seemed so lovely. There's got to be some pitfall somewhere along the line. Let me turn to the clinical psychologist. I mean, things can go wrong, can they not?
Well, I don't know any family that doesn't have pitfalls and problems, but I think the basis for resolving them is very strong in this case, and I think the fact that these parents came out with their gayness to their own parents provides a model for openness with their child, and I think that That's very important, to be able to respond to the child's questions, to not be in the closet, to not hide things, because kids are very smart, and they kind of know what's going on, even if they don't have the vocabulary from a very early age.
Well, thank you all for joining us. And once again, the book is Gay Parenting. It's by Joy Schulenburg, and if you are considering becoming a gay parent or already are and would like some advice, there's a lot of it in here. Thank you all very much. And little Veronica went backstage. She's probably having a piece of candy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Terry.
We'll be back with more in a minute.